Dear listeners, welcome to my first online class. Hope that you are well by the grace of Almighty Allah. I am also fine. This is MD Shahbub Rahman, belongs to Shohid Nurul Hossain Degree College. Dear listeners, you know the very issue coronavirus or COVID-19 that has already paralyzed all the world, all over the world, and is also paralyzed our country. But in order to run the wheel of the education ministry and the authority of the college has taken a proper decision to take classes through online. So it's my pleasure to have a wonderful class with you. Dear listeners, hope that you will participate me and you will be good listeners. The topic that I am going to discuss with you today is completing sentence. Listeners, you know, in our daily conversation, whenever we communicate with others, we use various types of sentences in order to express our inner feelings and inner views. So, sentence might be various types. You know, a sentence may be imperative, a sentence may be interrogative, a sentence may be assertive, a sentence may be objective, a sentence may be complex, simple, or compound, etc. However, but in order to express our inner feelings, we have to know sentences and we have to know the construction of the sentences. You know, an authentic sentence has three elements. One is subject, another is verb, and last is object. So I would like to tell you, at first I would like to tell you the definition of a sentence. What is a sentence? You know, a sentence is a group of words that makes a complete sense. Without completing idea, a sentence never be expected, never brings about fruitfulness. However, there are some rules of completing sentence that we have to follow. I have already written 3 rules on the whiteboard. Look at the board, please. You see, here at first rule is though, although, second rule as, since, because, third rule is about as if, as though. You know, these all are some subordinate conjunction. There are also another subordinate conjunction that is since, though, that, so that, when, while, till, until, if, in case, etc. This type of conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, always construct complex sentence. So here the 3 rules indicates complex sentences. So now we are going to our discussion. You see, at first we are getting on the board though and although. You see, the first clause, there are 2 clauses in a complex sentence. At first you have to know there are 2 clauses in a complex sentence. The first one is subordinate clause and the other is main clause. You see, main clause does not depend on subordinate clause, but a subordinate clause always depends on a main clause. In a main clause, you get subject, a finite verb, and object. However, here you see, how can we construct a complex sentence by using coordinating conjunction though, although. You see, at first, though plus present indefinite tense. What I am going to say? Though plus present indefinite tense, the main clause would be subject plus base form of verb or object. Others, you can say that subject plus can't, verb in base form plus object. But though and although plus past indefinite tense, what will be the main clause? The main clause would be subject plus past form of verb plus object, or subject plus could or could not plus base form of verb plus object. So you see, I have already given some examples on the board. You see, though the pen writes well. Though the pen writes well. Here, though is a coordinating conjunction and it makes the sentence complex. It is a subordinate clause and it is a main clause. You see, the first portion of the sentence is present indefinite tense. What is the structure of present indefinite tense? The structure of present indefinite tense is subject plus base form of verb or V1 plus object. Isn't it? So the first portion is present indefinite tense. So the second portion is present indefinite tense. So here you see it is very costly. Though the pen writes well, it is very costly. Second sentence, though they had no car. This is, you see, this is though plus past indefinite tense because subject past form of verb plus object. The next portion or main clause is also past indefinite tense. They came in time. You see, another sentence I am going to tell you. Though he studied seriously. This is also a past indefinite tense. So the main clause would be could not. Suppose you see, though he started seriously, he could not get A plus. What is the difference between it? So I am going to repeat it again. Though plus present indefinite tense, the main clause would be subject plus base form of verb, or can or cannot, or V1 plus object. And though plus past indefinite tense, the main clause would be subject past form of verb or object, or subject plus could not plus V1 plus object. Okay, this is I have already finished talking with you about this rule. Now I am going to discuss the second rule. The second rule is about as, since, because. You know, on the right margin of the board, I have written some subordinate conjunctions. And subordinate conjunction you see as, since, and when. This also make complex sentence. So these are also complex sentence. You see here the first portion of the sentence, that means the subordinate clause as he was late, as plus past indefinite tense, the main clause would be subject plus past form of verb, or could not, and as plus present indefinite tense, the next portion would be subject plus can, cannot, or present form. I am going to repeat it again. If we get in a subordinate conjunction as, since, when, and the sentence is, if the sentence is present form, the main clause would be present form. And as, since, when, with as, since, when, the first subordinate clause is past tense, the main clause would be past tense. So you see, I couldn't get A plus since I did not study well. Here you see, the subordinate clause is the backward place, and the main clause has been written in the first portion of the sentence. But here you see, this is main clause and this is a subordinate clause, because before this sentence we get since. Have you got the point? So I am going to repeat it again. As, since, and because. This type of conjunctions always create complex sentence. But at first we have to remember that if first portion or subordinate clause is present form, the main clause would be present form. If the subordinate clause is past form, the main clause would be past form. Have you got the point? Okay, listeners. Next I am going to add the rules, that is about as if, as though. This is also used to make a complex sentence. But it is very interesting that as if, as though, you can use a Z formula. That means, as if, the first portion of as if is present form, the last portion would be past indefinite tense. And if the first portion of as if, as though is past form, the last portion would be past participle, past perfect. Here you can see, first present indefinite plus as if, the last portion would be past indefinite. Past indefinite plus as if, the last portion would be past perfect. So I am giving you some examples here. You see, the man talks as if he knew everything. Here you see, the first portion is present indefinite tense. Before as if, the first portion is present indefinite tense. So after as if, the portion would be past indefinite. Past indefinite. Again, he behaves as though. Here, the first portion is also present indefinite tense. After as though, the sentence is past indefinite tense. And you can here use a subject plus verb, past form of verb, or where. If you want to use be verb, you can use where. And if you use main verb, you have to use V2 or past form of verb. And again, the boy proceeded as if. Here you see, as if, before as if, the portion is past indefinite. So after as if, the portion is, or the clause is past perfect. Past perfect. So I am going to repeat it again. If I get as if in a sentence, we have to follow the first. If the first portion is present form, the last portion would be past indefinite tense. And before as if the first portion is past indefinite tense, the last portion will be past perfect. Have you got the point? So here, I like to request you to know about the structure of sentence, and you have to know clearly about the structures about the structure of tenses, because you have to know what is the structure of present indefinite, what is the structure of past perfect, and what is and you have to know the form of verb. You have to know the definition of subject, verb, and object, and you have to know what is sentence and sentence structure, etc. And I think it will be very beneficial for you. So this is my last today's topic. I discussed with you rule 1, rule 2, and rule 3 on completing sentence. There are some common rules of completing sentence. Among them, though, although, as, since, because, as if, as though, some of them. So this is okay, no more today. Thank you very much. Stay safe at home. Hope that you will be studious, and I think you have to continue your study despite coronavirus, because we should not lag behind giving up our education. Next, I will meet you. Okay, thank you. Bye.